Welcome back to Wise Minds, Wild Hearts, the show for high achievers who are done with hustle culture and ready instead to create extraordinary results through alignment, intention, and using your gorgeous future self to lead the way. I'm Kip Clark, and today I want to talk about something that explains most of human behavior, including the part of you that keeps connecting to the same habits, the same patterns, even the same self-doubts, even if you've done a lot of inner work. So today's episode is called Why Your Brain is Biased Toward the Past. And I think once you understand this, you'll see your old resistance and your old tendency to connect with patterns and habits that aren't really serving you anymore. You're going to see all that through completely different eyes. So, first, understand that your brain is kind of like a prediction machine. So, it's not designed to create a future for you. It's designed to keep you alive, to keep you safe and alive by predicting what's most likely to happen based on what's already happened. Now, neuroscientist Carl Friston calls this the predictive processing model. And it's really foundational for a lot of neuroscience. Your brain is constantly scanning your internal and external world and asking, based on my history, what's probably going to happen next? And how can I prepare for it? How can I keep myself safe from it? Now, survival-wise, this makes perfect sense. If you touched a hot stove once when you were younger, you burned your hand, your brain remembers that. And going way back, if some version of you in the past, one of your ancestors, many of your ancestors probably, were chased by a saber-toothed tiger of your imagination, your brain would definitely remember that. So remember that you have probably somewhere around 10,000 generations of ancestors, give or take. That's a lot of generations that came before you. And for most of those generations of your ancestors, almost all of them, they lived in a state of daily existential threat. So every day they were dealing with some kind of threat from their environment. So that meant threats from other tribes or groups or communities that wanted to come and kill everybody and take their resources, or threats from big monstrous beasts, predators of some kind, even threats from simple things such as a little cut on a finger or stubbing a toe and it becomes infected. And of course, there's no medicine, no healthcare of any kind. And so it was very, very easy to get horrendous infections and die. So all kinds of threats existed in our ancestors' environment. And those threats it's like they're built in, they're baked into our DNA because so many, almost all of our generational ancestors lived with that level of daily existential threat. So fast forward to today, you likely don't have those kinds of threats anymore, but there are other threats, and your brain, and it's referred to as the lizard brain, the part of your brain that's there to keep you safe, it's still highly active, and it has all of that baked in history that it's relying on. So now, in today's times, you're thinking about very different things. You're thinking about perhaps launching a new business venture. Well, guess what? That same lizard brain that tried to keep you safe through all those past generations of ancestors is going to do the same thing here as well. The brain's job is to minimize surprise and threat, not to maximize potential. So anytime you're thinking about trying something new, whether it's launching a new offer, maybe raising your prices, maybe being more visible by sharing your message more widely, your brain initially doesn't evaluate that idea rationally. It evaluates it historically. It's connecting to the past and asking the question, has this version of you survived before? And if the answer is no, Maybe because you've never done anything like that before, your brain is going to respond with, guess what? Resistance, a lot of discomfort, a very strong urge for you to go and reorganize your pantry. Whatever it takes to get you back to what's familiar and habitual and known already. And so this is why high performers even can feel really stuck when they're doing everything right. It's really not so much a mindset problem. It's kind of a predictive problem that your brain is doing. Danger, danger, danger. There's been danger in the past. There could be danger in the future. Stay safe. Stay small. Don't try this thing. So your brain is deeply loyal, in a sense, to your past. It knows it. It's helped you survive it. It's like there's this huge mental filing cabinet full of evidence from the past. But your future, not so much, not so much. So this is where the work of psychologists such as Ann Wilson and Hal Hershfield become really fascinating, because their respective research shows that the more vividly you imagine your future self, what your future self looks like, thinks like, feels like, the way your future self acts, the people that your future self is surrounded by, the more your brain treats that future identity as real. So the more vividly you can imagine it, the more your brain will start to recognize it as something that's real. And in fact, your brain will light up differently when you envision your future self as a stranger versus when you envision your future self as you. So what this means is your brain is not fixed. It's not doomed just to replay old predictions over and over again. It is continuously updating its sort of operating system, if you will, but only when you feed it new data. And so that's why all the inner work really matters. It really does. Every time you create a vivid, emotionally anchored, positive picture of who you want to be, your future self, you are giving your brain new evidence. You're basically saying to your lizard brain, hey, brain, this is the new normal for us here. And then you start acting from that future self perspective, not working towards it, but acting from it today. So let me just go a little bit more deeply into the two parts of the brain that are familiarly known as the lizard brain and the wizard brain. I love that. Those terms came from an article by Peter Straub. So the two characters that are kind of living rent-free in your head, the lizard brain, I've talked about this already. So the lizard brain is the part of your brain that's been around forever and ever and ever. It's fast, it processes quickly, it's highly reactive, it's very emotional, it's kind of the drama queen. So it's definitely the emotional center. It's what creates an emotional response in you. Now the other part, the wizard brain, the prefrontal cortex, this is the part where there's wisdom and logic. So the parts of you that will sort of settle down and say, well, let's think this through. Let's use some common sense here. So you would think that, okay, if there are those two parts, if there's the lizard brain, there's also the wizard brain, why can't the wizard brain just sort of override the lizard? And that would be nice. And it is possible, but this is the challenge for most of us. The lizard part of the brain gets the data first. It's like it wakes up first. It gets the data first. So that means, from a neuroscience perspective, emotion precedes logic. And this is Antonio Damasio's what he called the somatic marker hypothesis, which is that your body reacts before your rational mind knows why it's reacting. So you feel the fear before you think the thought. And then you think the thought, and then that can generate more emotion. But here's the empowering part. If the emotion actually does come first, then, and we know that, if we understand that that's true, if we believe in that, then it's possible to rewire that emotional. So you could actually enlist the lizard brain as your ally. What would that be like? Instead of just feeling like, oh man, this lizard part of my brain, it's always kicking in first. It's always controlling the show before my common sense and my logic can take a look at this rationally. But you can actually get the lizard brain to work better for you. How? Well, by emotionally charging that vision of your future self, making it so powerful, so vivid, so detailed, so emotionally amazing, that the lizard brain stops detecting it as threat and starts detecting reward from it. And remember that fear and excitement basically are experienced the same way in the body. They run through the same neural circuitry. So you just need to nudge the brain a little bit to choose one over the other, to choose excitement over fear. And that nudge is your emotionally vivid future self imagery. Sitting, imagining, closing your eyes, imagining your goal state, imagining who you will be when you've achieved your goal state. Who will you be? How do you show up every day? What is your ideal day like? Imagine it, infuse it with as much emotion as you possibly can. So how can you bias your brain toward the future instead of such a strong connection to the past? Because I always want to make this practical for you. So I've got 3 ways that you can gently start to retrain your brain to favor the future instead of clinging so tightly to the past. And the first of these, I've already mentioned this a couple of times, the emotional vividness. So don't just think about your future self. Really feel that. Feel the posture of your future self, the energy. What are your mornings like? What kind of boundaries do you have? What's your confidence level? What about your sense of ease? How do you move through your day? Who are you surrounded by? And so on. The more emotion you infuse with this imagery, the more your prediction machinery will update. The second way you can start to kind of gently nudge your brain in a different direction is instead of adding things, we tend to have a bias towards adding things. Instead, try removing things that will reinforce your old identity. So even just look around your physical space right now. If you're in your office or your workspace, if not, maybe go and have a look at it at some point. And just look, are there relics from your old identity that you really don't want to hang on to anymore? Do you have stacks of file folders or dusty books or anything that you haven't used or looked at in a really long time? If so, remove it. Just put it in boxes, put it away, or get rid of it, whatever seems like the right thing to do, but just move that out of the space. Do the same thing with all your digital files. Go through and empty out your deleted box, your junk files. Unsubscribe from anything that, if you're like me, I get messages in my inbox every morning, and I'll spend sometimes up to 5 minutes just deleting the things that I don't want. I've got multiple email addresses that I use for different things. And instead of spending that time deleting those things, I unsubscribe. And I have to do that about once a month. But it feels really good when I do it because all of a sudden the energy, all the negative energy in my inbox it lowers. The temperature lowers. And I don't feel like I'm being pulled in 50 directions to take advantage of this great offer and this Black Friday deal and that Cyber Monday awesome offer and so on and so on. That stuff, it just drags down your energy. It's not going to be part of your future self vision. So just get rid of it. Purging is such a great way of getting the process going. Do the same thing with your closet, with your junk drawer, with the garage, with the basement. Anywhere there's stuck stuff, stuck energy around old relics, old icons that you are not going to be bringing forward into this new chapter for you. So subtract. And then the third practical way you can start to nudge yourself forward is by small micro acts that your future self takes on. So little things like perhaps sending one courageous email today. You've been thinking about connecting with someone, maybe to let that person know about something that you think could make his or her life better, but you've been hesitating on it. So take the action, send the email, invite the person to a conversation, invite the person to take a look at whatever it is you want them to see. You can also decline one misaligned request. So if someone sends you a message saying, hey, let's go for coffee or a glass of wine later on, and you really don't want to, but you're tempted to say yes out of who knows what, obligation or some part of your people-pleasing self that just has a hard time saying no, but say no this time. So any little actions like this, even going for a walk without your phone, just to free yourself from that connection and give your brain a bit of a break from it. These little actions can actually make a big difference, especially as they accumulate over time. So let me just pull everything together here. Instead of allowing your lizard brain, that primitive part of your brain, to take control every time, use it instead. Be really intentional about it. Use your emotion to fuel that vision of your future self. Use vividness. Use this new identity you're creating. Use your imagination. Use the very mechanisms that once kept you stuck, and now they pull you toward your next chapter with ease. When your future self feels familiar, your brain will stop fearing it and it will stop trying to get in your way. It won't pull you back to safety every time. It might from time to time. If you're really stretching yourself occasionally, it's going to happen. But the more you can do this, the less impact that will have on you. You'll recognize it sooner. You'll be able to deal with it more quickly. And then things start getting easier. Your decisions feel lighter. Your actions feel aligned. Your momentum becomes more natural because you're not wrestling with your past anymore. You're being led by your future self. So, if this episode has lit something up inside you, and I really hope it did, please let me know. And please also share it with a fellow traveler, another high performer who's ready to stop being loyal to an outdated version of themselves. And by the way, if you want these kinds of insights delivered straight from your future self each week, check out my weekly newsletter, Dispatches from the Future You. The link is going to be in the show notes. And each week I deliver some content and some tips and some content that I think is really going to make a difference for you. Okay, until next time, remember, your future self is already cheering you on. I'm just here to help you hear that voice a little faster.